Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Lizzie, and for today's video we are doing another horror watch, and we're going to be talking about House on Haunted Hill, the original versus the remake.
I'm Vincent Price, and you're invited to my party in the house on Haunted Hill, where so far the ghosts have murdered only 7 people. So won't you come and make it 8?
This Halloween, 6 strangers have been invited to a party. If they can stay up till dawn, they'll win $1 million each. The only catch is that they'll have to live through the night. Let the games begin.
So if you are new to my channel and you have not seen a horror watch before, this is basically where I'll take 2 or more horror films and talk about them, compare them. Now, they're not always remakes and originals or even from the same franchise. Sometimes I'll take 2 films with maybe a similar theme and compare those together, but for this one we are doing original versus remake, and I, surprisingly enough, have not seen either of these. I thought I maybe seen the original, but upon watching it this time, I don't really recall, which is very disappointing, but I'm glad that I finally watched it. These are actually both available to watch on Shudder, which, if you don't know what Shudder is, it's basically like Netflix for horror. Not sponsored yet. And I highly suggest checking both of these out. So first we're going to start talking about the original. This is a classic Vincent Price film. He plays the character of Frederick, whose wife Annabelle, it is her birthday, and she decides that she wants to throw a party at this haunted house. He ends up going behind her back and kind of twisting things, and instead of inviting their usual guests of friends, he ends up inviting these 5 strangers, all who are a little strapped for cash, and he promised them $10,000 if they stay throughout the night. So right away when we meet Frederick and his wife, their relationship is very odd. At first, when watching it, I was like, I don't know if this is like a weird flirtation, and that's just like the weird way that the relationship is. She's obviously very like into kind of the creepy thing, like this was her whole idea for them to stay the night in this haunted house. And they just are really mean to each other and say a lot of horrible things. He basically kind of implies that she's a slut and she's just using him for his money. She kind of implies that he has killed all of his previous wives. Very odd dynamic, and as the film goes on, you realize that it's not just a flirtation thing. These are 2 people that really, really hate each other, and that definitely plays into the events of the film. I will be talking about spoilers. I guess I should have done a forewarning, but if you have not seen either of these films, I will be getting to spoilers, so this is your warning for that. At first, when watching this, it was just kind of like, okay, I'm not sure if this is gonna be like a real haunted house situation, if these people are actually being haunted by ghosts, or if it's foul play by the hands of this Frederick character, which we end up finding out is actually partially true. He is kind of behind some of the things going on. Not everything, but by the end of the film, we find out that one of the people that are invited to this house, which is this doctor, he and Frederick's wife, Annabelle, have been having an affair, and they actually plotted this whole thing as a way to be able to kill Frederick and get him out of the way. But they do so by attempting to scare the other remaining guests into killing him for them. And of course, things don't really go as planned, and he comes out of it alive and some people die, some people come out of it alive. It's a very interesting film. I wasn't really sure going into it how the whole thing was going to plan out. I was lucky enough that it really was never spoiled for me, which is kind of surprising. I mean, it's an old film. It's a classic. A lot of people love this film, and I was lucky that nobody had, up until this point, really spoiled the film for me. So I really liked it. Obviously, like Vincent Price, he's an icon. It was a really good film. I like the fact that you're not really sure what 100% is going on throughout the majority of it. And I definitely think it's a fun, rewatchable film that, if you have not seen, highly suggest checking out. And I will say the only kind of downside is the fact that it is a bit of an older film, so some of the animatronics and stuff that they use in it, not great, little cheesy, but it's really not that bad. Like, they're still pretty good, I feel like, for its time. So, to talk about the remake. So, the remake came out in 1999, and this is just a 90s, early 2000s film to its core. Like, it just, from the cast, like, you have a total iconic 90s, early 2000s cast going on. Some people who I feel like when the film came out maybe weren't as well known, but definitely later on. I mean, you have the actress that was the teacher in The Faculty. She's also been in a bunch of other stuff. You have actor who goes on to be in Save the Last Dance, also in a lot of stuff. Maybe I'll just pop up the actors' pictures here, because there's a lot of iconic people that pop up in this, and it just gave me total 90s vibes, like the actors alone, but just the entire vibe of this film. And there are parts of it that they kept from the original. There's little kind of shout outs here. They kept the names of some of the characters, like his wife Annabelle, and they do a little bit of a shout out to Vincent Price. His Frederick character is now this Stephen Price character. He runs the Price Amusements. So I liked that, a little bit of a nod to Vincent Price. I thought that was really sweet, and maybe something that not everybody would pick up on if you're not as knowledgeable about the original, or really like a fan. You may not have like picked up on that, but I thought that it was cool, because I feel like a lot of people who do know who Vincent Price is and have seen the original would pick up on that little nod. And also just the fact that that character of Stephen Price looks a lot like Vincent Price. They totally gave him like the iconic Vincent Price mustache. And the relationship between Annabelle and Stephen is basically the same as it is between Annabelle and Frederick in the original. They flat out hate each other. They're a little bit more obvious in the original. They kind of do a lot of their bickering, I feel like, behind the scenes, and Annabelle kind of keeps more to herself in the original, kind of stays behind the scenes herself more, whereas in this one she's really like up in the crowd, kind of being more of a plant. In this one, in the original, she definitely has her moments of kind of deceiving people and planting little seeds of doubt here and there, but she really lays it on in this one, and they do not hold back on their hatred in front of people. They really like lay it out for everybody to see. They really do not like each other, and they kept in Annabelle's affair, and with a doctor character who's actually played by Peter Gallagher, who some of you will know from the OC, the dad on there. He's also been in a fuck ton of other stuff as well, but I feel like a lot of people know him from the OC. I know I definitely did. And he's in this. He plays the doctor in this one. And they keep that whole dynamic, and the fact that they're plotting this whole thing to get rid of Stephen. They kept all of that in. But what they added into this film that is the ghost. The film, again, spoiler warning, the film ends with them actually being haunted by these real life ghosts that are stuck in the house. They kind of kill off almost the entire cast except for like 2 people that survive, who are really kind of the only decent people in this film, and really the people like you're rooting for the most part. They are the survivors, and there really was like a whole ghost aspect, which the film opens up with an insane asylum situation. The house used to be this old insane asylum, and one of the doctors goes rogue, has a mental breakdown or something, basically kills all of these people, kills other doctors and nurses, and releases the patients onto them and locks everybody in, and everybody basically burns up and dies, and just about everybody, I guess not everyone, but a lot of people end up dying in this, and that's how this film opens, and that's how we learn about what happened at this house on Haunted Hill. In the remake version, that part was added in, and I can understand why maybe a lot of people don't like this version. I think especially if the original holds a super special place in your heart, and if you are comparing the two, obviously there are changes made to the remake, and I can understand not liking those changes, and compared to the original, like, yes, it's not going to be a stand-up remake, but I think as a solo film, if it had a different title, if, you know, it obviously didn't copy some of those exact things from the original, I think it would be, or if the original didn't exist, it would be a great 90s film on its own. But I also really enjoy 90s flicks, so that may also be a part of it. Like I said, I loved the 90s film cast of this. I love the 90s vibes. It has bad 90s effects, and I loved it all, and I totally just sucked up this film, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was really great. I loved both of these versions. I think that they're really great films on their own. Again, if you're not comparing the two, and I'm able to enjoy both. And I was pleasantly surprised because I went on Letterboxd. If you are following me on there, it's Carnage Candy, like it is on everything. Links in the description. But I was pleasantly surprised at the amount of people that actually really liked this. There were a lot of good reviews for this film. I mean, not really major like 5-star reviews. I'd say like 3.5 stars, maybe 4 stars. I think I gave it like a 3.5. It's just out of 5 on Letterboxd. So, you know, wasn't necessarily on a complete 5s, which I totally agree with. But I was pleasantly surprised to see that I wasn't the only one that actually really liked this remake. I was very happy about that. And I think the fact that they kept a lot from the original also helps. And again, just the 90s filled cast of this film is iconic. And I'm happy that I finally watched both of these, and I really like them. So if you haven't seen either of these versions, highly suggest checking them out. If you have seen either or both, let me know what your thoughts are on them. Let me know what your comparison thoughts are on them, what you do or don't like about either film. If you did enjoy this, please do give it a big old thumbs up. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for more horror-related content. Before I go, a quick shout out to my Patreons. Thank you guys so much for helping to contribute to the channel. If you would like to help support a small channel like mine and find out what benefits you get to being a Patreon, the links are in the description below, along with all of my other social media, and I'll see you guys again later with another video. Bye!